A warning. The story you're about to hear is a horror story and contains disturbing content, especially for anyone who's dealt with sexual abuse, an eating disorder, or suicidal ideation. Please be advised. Cuentero Productions and Two Lines Press present Soroche.
Lo llaman mal de aire, mal de altura, mal de montaña, mal de páramo, apunamiento, Soroche. They call it air sickness, altitude sickness, mountain sickness, sick from the highlands, sick from the plateaus, sick with Soroche. But whenever you get it, they want you to chew coca leaves like a damn alpaca, and that's what I don't like. I find it disgusting. I was once given coca tea, and it was the most repulsive thing I'd ever tasted in my life. I know what it's like to be way up high, you know? I've been to La Paz, to Quito, to Cusco. I've traveled a lot because I like getting to know new places and new cultures. I travel at least twice a year, and not to just any old continent, but to countries where the landscape is harsh. I don't do chic tourism, no sir. I dive headfirst into adventure, and sometimes there are consequences. Anyway, I assume you've heard what it feels like when Soroche gets you good. But I'll explain it to you anyway because I want you to understand there's nothing I could have done. I was barely able to stay standing, and at times not even that. Look, it feels like there's a ghost inside you, like you're filled with a heavy, malignant air that makes it hard to breathe. At first, you don't notice. You just feel tired and your heart races, you know, like you're running a marathon. You can handle that. It's not so bad. But then it gets ugly. You get dizzy. Your head hurts. You vomit. You tremble. Ay, it's the ugliest thing. Your field of vision shrinks, becomes a tunnel the light can't penetrate. So how was I going to do anything? As we climbed the mountain, I felt the ghost made of air grabbing me by my bones and dragging me down to the ends of the earth. If you know what it's like to have Soroche, you'll understand. I couldn't have done anything under those circumstances. Nothing at all.
We took the long, difficult trail. We wanted to get the full experience. No, thank you. But do you have sparkling water? If you could serve it with a slice of lemon, even better. Thank you, dear. I was saying we chose the longer route with the full understanding we could return before sunset. That was the plan, and I remember perfectly that's how we decided on it because I told the girls I had to send an email to my agent. Something about a contract I'm getting ready to sign with an important publisher. Thank you. But did you read my last book? How flattering. Yes. It's dedicated to Renato, my late husband. He is and always will be the love of my life. Excuse me. Don't worry, I have a tissue. I hope you aren't bothered by how affectionate I am. I call everyone dear. Let me know if it bothers you, dear. We were happily climbing the mountain and chatting. It had been quite some time since we'd traveled, not to mention that kind of destination. If I'm being honest, hippie tourism isn't really my thing. But I wanted to spend time with my friends, far away from responsibilities, work, children, boyfriends, husbands, gossip. Well, you get it. We also planned it with Anna in mind, of course. The poor thing was in terrible shape, and she had good reason to be depressed. We all tried to cheer her up, distract her, but that doesn't mean she didn't have good reason. The trip was my idea. I'm the one with the good ideas. I didn't pick the destination, though, because if it had been up to me, we would have gone to a more modern city. Maybe in Europe or the United States. The kind with bookstores featured in rom-coms and famous malls. I'm a writer who enjoys big cities, cultural activities, and fashion. I'm quite stylish, as you can tell. I'm elegant, like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, don't you think? Black women these days, are so beautiful. Anyway, I gave Anna a book by Chimamanda, a feminist one, so she'd quickly get over the thing with her husband. Excuse me, ex-husband. But I doubt she read it. She isn't a good reader, not the brightest bulb, the poor thing.
That's why the husband did what he did to her. Because he could.
No one would have ever done that to me.
We've always been best friends. We met in high school, which is where people make their true friends, the lifelong ones. Our high school was and is one of the most respected, where the children of well-off, hardworking, God-fearing people who want to thrive go. After all, people stick with those who have the same values. Furthermore, our families have always been close. For example, Vivi and Kari's mothers used to play tennis at the same club, and my dad and Anita's dad were lawyers at the same firm. Now, we all live practically on top of one another, and our children are close friends. Carlitos and Juanito fought over a girl, but it isn't a big deal. Boys will be boys. The point is, we're inseparable. We go to the same church. We organize neighborhood meetings. We take Zumba classes at the local gym, like sisters. That's not to say we don't have our differences. We had and still have them. But we know how to get over them. If maturity has given us anything, it's the perspective and patience to understand a person's defects, to accept that if we want God to forgive our wrongdoings, we must also forgive those who wrong us. It isn't like they've wronged me. It's just a saying. In reality, we almost never argue about important things. Only stupid ones. Total nonsense. We all get annoyed every now and then with those closest to us. It's normal. For example, the way Carrie takes the lead even though no one needs or asks her to sometimes bothers me. She has a, how shall I put it, dictatorial personality. She thinks she's superior because she's written a book on Catholic feminism that, by the way, brings up confusing questions like what to do about lesbians. She is a very intelligent woman. No one's taking that away from her. But there are greater virtues like consistency and humility. Things she doesn't put into practice. Vivi is also arrogant, though for other reasons. She's obsessed with fitness and has a way of telling people they look bad without really saying it, just giving them a look. I think it's awful that she goes around judging other people's physiques so harshly, especially when she herself wouldn't look so good if it weren't for her husband's money. It's a secret. She would kill me if she found out I'm spreading this. But she had more than 5 surgeries. And not exactly for health reasons. I recognize they've made her look magnificent. But as a girl, she was completely flat. Front and back. No joke. She looked like a boy. My point is, when it comes to someone you love, it's normal to want to kill them one day and not the next. I've gotten so mad, I've spit in Karina's face. Can you imagine? The woman who looks at everyone else as if she were above them. Yes, a big glove in the middle of her enormous rider nose. And Bibi? I once fantasized about popping her implants. Don't get me wrong, I adore both of them. But God clearly still has lessons to teach them. For example, what happened to Anita was nothing but a divine test. Her sin has always been pride. She felt like she was the best wife, the best mother, the best friend, the best Christian. She was also the only one in the group who never had her heart broken. It's not like her suffering makes me happy, but maybe she needed that dose of humility, that painful experience that's left the rest of us feeling renewed and stronger. Tragedy is good for some people. For example, I love Anita more now. After what her ex did to her, I feel compassion for her. I feel sorry for her. Even with what happened on the mountain. Yes, I believe it now. Pain unites people, and we are closer than ever.
I had Soroche too, but that's not what made me jump. You know what I'm talking about, because you've seen the video. Don't play dumb. I see it in your face, young man. And the way you look at me. With disgust. With embarrassment. You haven't stopped staring at my chest since you got here. Do you think I don't know what my breasts look like? I've probably watched the video more times than you or anyone else. Over and over. Crying. Screaming. Pulling my hair out. I know quite well what I look like. I know what everybody who watched it thinks. That I'm a fat, disgusting old hag. That's what they think. That I'm a cow with grotesque saggy teats. A repulsive mooing cow. Moo. You'd have to be a complete dick to do something like that to Anita. A real pig. I watched the video and thought, poor Anita. The truth is the truth. And the truth is, she looks awfully fat. Like a walrus. Oof, hideous. The poor girl. Don't go believing she was depressed over the divorce. It wasn't that. It was because everyone got to see her jiggly, saggy, deflated teats, her gargantuan nipples, her cellulitis, her varicose veins, the horrific way her blubber moved while, well, you know, right? As if making waves. It's kind of amusing, but only a little. I remember details so disgusting, it's better I don't tell you. Anyway, that's what she found so hard to bear. That, and only that, is what put her into a depression. We all felt bad about it. So we planned a trip. We wanted her to change her mindset, to see the bright side, in spite of everything. I understand, Anita. You know, if people had seen me like that, I'd die. It's different, of course, since I'm in shape. But I imagine what happened to her. It makes my hair stand on end. I know Anita, and I know she couldn't stop thinking about the video. Ugh. Poor thing didn't want to leave the house or even be with her children. I told her, Anita, it's not a big deal. We'll go to the gym a few more times a week if you want. I'll be your trainer, and I'll make you a babe. But she never got back to me. That's one of her biggest flaws, laziness. I spent years telling her she needs an exercise routine, specifically for weight loss and muscle toning. For her own good, you know? If she'd listened to me, at least she would have looked different in the video. At least she would have looked good. Which is what matters.
It's true that Anna wasn't talking much, that she cried at night and looked somewhat lost during the day, that she didn't eat or laugh at our jokes, that she locked herself in the bathroom for long stretches of time. But dear, we didn't know she was having such a hard time. How would we? We aren't in her head, and we aren't psychologists. It certainly was a delicate moment for her. That's why we told her people would forget about the video, even if it wasn't true. People in our circle don't forget that kind of thing. Anna will be able to return to her normal life, of course, and no one will stop talking to her or anything. She'll still be the vice president of the neighborhood association and the director of the church choir. She'll still be invited to parties and meetings. No one will take away her position or social status. What I mean is that, at least in appearance, everything will go on as before. The problem, dear, is that Anna knows, and we know, that no one will ever look at her the same way. No one will respect her or believe in the image she sold us of herself. It's too late, we've seen the truth. From now on, people will pity her most of the time, and that's terrible for a woman. I feel sorry for her. I suggested we take a trip together because I feel so bad for her, or as Nicole says, out of commiseration. Anna was definitely on board from the beginning. Anyway, we checked into a nice hotel, took a walk around the historical center, and ate dinner at one of the city's traditional restaurants. The altitude tired us out quickly, but it wasn't anything out of this world. We woke up early the next morning because that's what Viviana's plan dictated. She decided the views were worth climbing a ways up the mountain. "Let's go hiking," she said. If they'd asked me, I would have chosen a tall building with an elevator. Ha! Exploring in high heels is very in. Viviana always boasts about being in shape. It's part of her personality. I don't know what she'll do when she realizes she's no longer a pretty little thing, and that we've all noticed the work she's had done. Anyway, we climbed the mountain, chatting about random things, about the Zumba instructor, the corps, our kids, upcoming parties, and above all, avoiding any mention of the video. But it was there. Just like the Soroche. As I said before, we all felt a little off because of the altitude, but we were fine. Dear, I know Viviana says she felt like she was going to die, but that isn't true. She was happy with the excursion. It was later, on the mountain, when we all got sick. We followed the trail and enjoyed the landscape, which was lovely, just like the one I describe in my book. And I'd never been on a mountain, but I have good imagination. I confess. I've considered writing about what happened to Anna. A novel, perhaps, with a character inspired by her. I think I'd know how to transmit her anguish and her misgivings because, and anyone who knows me will tell you this, I'm tremendously empathetic. It's one of my distinguishing features. Anyway, while we were climbing, we realized we were up pretty high. And that's when someone, I think it was Nicole, said she was feeling strange. It's possible Viviana was also feeling sick, but given that she likes to brag about her resilience and physical fitness, she didn't tell us. I, on the other hand, said my head was heavy and my arms felt like liquid. We kept walking anyway. I don't know why. I suppose it was for Anna because we'd already spent an hour climbing uphill. I'm sure she also had Soroche, which made her see what she saw. It isn't like Anna went crazy, she just lost it for an instant. Things happen. Sadness and lack of oxygen can't cloud one's thinking. You can't judge her. It was the altitude. You see, dear? I'm all empathy.
You don't do that to a woman our age. Men post videos of their partners when they are 20-something, 30-something. If they do that to you when you're young, it's humiliating. But life goes on. At our age, though, we are already gracefully going downhill. I've always been told, never do anything you'd be embarrassed for others to see you doing. Those are wise words. I hope Anita learns from this tough lesson. God knows what He's doing and never gives us more than we can bear. Amen.
What was I thinking about as we climbed the mountain, kid? I was thinking about myself on the bed with my legs spread open. About my fat tights, wrinkled with peaks and craters like an orange peel. About my blue, red, and green veins swelling like sea worms. About my fingers making circles on my clitoris, thinking I'm sexy, when clearly, obviously, definitively, I'm not. About my purple teeth. About my dim-witted bulldog tongue. About my vagina's huge labia, dark and depraved. About how he makes me roll over and the camera falls into a corner and all you can see are my tits like two rotting eggplants. I'm thinking about my mooing. About my bovine expression. About the bushy black fuzz covering my flabby belly. About the pathetic face I make when I think I'm being sexy. About the cesarean scar etched all the way across me, like a centipede. About my sumo wrestler body, my elephant body, my seal body, trashing around now seemingly, ridiculously, repulsively. About how he picks up the camera and zooms in on my anus with its hemorrhoids and sticks his finger in, and I bleed and poop. About his voice when he says to me, "You're a disgusting slut, 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 slut. Your stench is going to make me vomit all over you. Filthy whore. Shit-stained whore." About how I moo. About my flat ass. About the ridiculous movements I make when I think I look sexy. About how I am beyond any doubt the most vomitous person on the planet. About my friends' faces when they look at me. About my children's faces when they look at me. About my neighbors' and acquaintances' faces when they look at me. About the nausea they all surely feel at the sight of me. About my foul, unsavory, repellent, revolting body believing itself sexy. About the pathetic, sorry sound of my blubber smacking against his hard, athletic body. About the dark brown skin of my inner tights. About the wart on my back. About how unbearably obese I look, especially from overhead. About my crudely cut pinky nail. About the yellowish corns on my heels. About my hyena wrinkles. About the pathetic, sorry sound of my pubic mound ramming against his abdomen. About my unwaxed armpits. About my armadillo skin. My manatee skin. My turtle skin. My rat skin, my caiman skin, my tapir skin, my cockroach skin. About how he doesn't come and loses his erection. About how it makes sense he loses his erection. About how it's a miracle he got hard in the first place. About my scaly elbows that in the light of the room look like psoriasis. About how the overhead view not only makes me look unbearably obese, but also reveals the nascent yet inevitable baldness at my crown, pale and shiny like an old knee. About how I have dangling tits of store blubber on my back. About the hair growing around my nipples. About how I sweat like a pig, and my sweat drips all over the sheets and my African rhinoceros body. About how it makes me gag to see that much sweat and the yellowish tint it leaves on the pillow. About how I'm not just ugly but repugnant, nauseating, hippopotamish. About the blood stains and shit stains on the duvet that are visible in almost every shot. About the rolls that go all the way up to my neck. About my stinking slobber that drips onto the bed and makes me look like a bulldog more than anything. About how, ever since the video, people are repulsed by the sight of me, even though they hide it to avoid hurting my feelings. About how their act of hiding it to avoid hurting my feelings hurts my feelings. About how I'm surrounded not by love, but by shame. About my enormous double chin that completely engulfs my jawline. About how I am no longer young or pretty, and no one will desire me ever again because desire is something that's inspired only by beauty, and beauty is young, and I'm no longer young or attractive, but a gorilla, a killer whale, a bison. About how awful it is to be so hideous and yet so alive, and to exist in the midst of the most absolute beauty, waiting forever and ever for someone to desire the undesirable, waiting forever and ever for someone to cherish my body and make it beautiful with his love, about the size and color of my hemorrhoids, about my belly button folding on itself, closed up by my belly fat, about my non-existent waistline, about my sunburned foot, about the enormous wings of fat under my arms, about how I grip my legs and spread them wide enough to clearly show him shoving his fist into my vagina, letting air and releasing a queef. About just how long a 2-minute and 37 seconds video can be. About the size and color of my clitoris. About how I will never again kiss or be kissed passionately. About my slobbery tongue reaching about the way I ask him to hold me, and he doesn't. About how no one will ever hold me naked again. About how I clench my teeth and fake an orgasm that only I know I didn't have. About how deformed and monstrous my face is when I fake it. About how pathetic I am for having thought all my life that I was moaning and not mooing. About the cruelty of time. About how the video ends on the whites of my eyes. About love and ugliness. About how ugliness always wins.
I didn't catch the moment Anna pulled down her pants. What I did see was the look of bewilderment on Nicole's face. Ugh. And so I turned around to find Anna in a squat, peeing. Just like that. Outrageous! You wouldn't know this, but that was something none of us had ever done in front of each other, let alone outdoors, like animals. We were stunned. We couldn't believe it. And after what was in the video, it was surreal. We didn't know how to react or what the hell to do. Someone laughed awkwardly. I think probably me. I don't know. We said, Anita, please. But she didn't even look at us, like she was in her own universe, entire galaxies away. It was a bizarre moment, with the wind sort of blowing her piece toward Karina, the poor thing, who had to jump out of the way to avoid it. At that point, we realized something was happening to Anna. But we had Soroche, and we knew that if we walked a little farther, we'd get to a rest stop where we could chew coca or something, alpaca style. It didn't make sense to go back down, no matter how dizzy we were. Anyway, I wanted to turn away like Kari and Nicole to give Anita her privacy, but something came over me. I don't know what. Maybe the altitude? And I couldn't stop staring at her butt cheeks. If you watch the video, you understand how ugly they are. I tried to think about the exercise routine I'd suggest for her to leave those floppy rectangular bones, about good things for her and not the stains or cellulitis. And that gave me courage. I questioned why Anna was doing it, peeing like that, like a little pig. Why she didn't take care of herself. Why she let herself be filmed. Why she always wanted to be the victim and feel bad instead of doing something for herself. Why she didn't solve her problems instead of wallowing in her difficulties. Seriously. Don't get me wrong, but for a few seconds, I understood her ex-husband. It was only for a few seconds, And then whatever had come over me was gone.
I've been thinking about it a lot these days. About why I turned around so I wouldn't see Anna peeing. Dear, I'm the type of person who wants to understand the little reasons behind their own behavior. I want to know myself better than anyone. To know where my primal urges come from. What wild part of me acts before my will does. The mind is quicker than conscious thought, which is why I write. To trap thought. It sounds good, doesn't it? I've said that in a couple of interviews. Whatever it was, I looked away, uncomfortable. I turned my back on Anna. But where did that discomfort come from? For Nicole, who is as much a goody two-shoes as can be, it was an understandable reaction. Coming from me, though, it was totally unexpected. I'm going to tell you the truth now that there's trust between us. I turned around not out of modesty, but rejection. The video was fresh in my mind, and I didn't want to see Anna's body. It's awful to say, I know. Human emotions are awful most of the time. I was feeling dizzy and nauseous, and I really didn't want to disrupt my view of that beautiful mountain landscape with a crass, unpleasant one. I didn't want to see Anna's body, that's the truth. I think she knew and she was testing us. We all failed, of course. Can I have a drag? Thank you, dear. The trail was clear. On the way up, we didn't see a soul, aside from those brief seconds when we saw an Indio in the distance, higher up, looking down at us with a red poncho and wooden walking stick. I'm telling you about it now because when Anna leapt, the Indio did the same thing. It was as if the two were the same person, just in different sectors of the mountain. It'll seem crazy to you, but I'd almost swear I saw the Indio running in reverse. My blood froze. I saw the end of it all, of course, and I couldn't do anything. Maybe it was the Soroche. Well, what I mean is that we failed Anna because once again we made her feel bad about herself and her body. She was peeing. It wasn't anything all that shocking. We reacted poorly. I feel guilty for having turned around, for having given in to that emotion unbecoming of the affection I have for her. Above all, because if I hadn't done it, I could have stopped her. But as I turned my back on her, I only saw the end. When Anna and the Indio leapt. A condor? Who told you that, dear?
I don't like to lie. I never do. I lead with the truth, so you can trust me when I tell you Kari is a liar. I don't know why, when there's no need. Everything that happened was really sad, but it obviously wasn't our fault. And if we had to single out a guilty person, it would be Anita's ex, not us, of course. It's a relief. She's now safe and healthy with her family. We go almost every day to see her, and we've prayed for her recovery at church because, despite everything, she's our sister. And surely God, in His infinite compassion, will forgive her. I pray for that. Amen. The thing is, I like to say something else, but Kari is a liar. She didn't turn around like she says she did, and there was no Indio. It's difficult to explain just like that. Look, I'll draw it out for you on a napkin. This was the layout. Me here, Anita here, Vivi here, Kari here. See? Even though I had my back to Anita, I could see the others perfectly. I'm the only one who turned around. Vivi thinks Kari turned around with me because she saw her avoid a few drops of pee the wind carried in her direction. Ugh. But she didn't. She only moved to here. And Vivi couldn't see her anymore. Therefore, the two must have seen Anna pull up her pants and run toward the cliff. I heard screams. Nothing more. When I turned back around, there was no trace of Anita. And Vivi and Kari's faces were pure horror. The situation embarrassed me. Embarrassed me for them. To do something like that in front of your friends? And then dread, yes, because I thought she killed herself. Our dear God never would have forgiven her. If you ask me, I think Kari invented the thing about the Indio to justify why she moved closer to Vivi instead of grabbing Anna. What I did see was a condor, but just for a few seconds. Beautiful creature. Eerie, but beautiful.
Listen to me closely, kid, because I'll only say it once. I was pissing on the rocks like an animal off the highlands because that's what I am. A creature that urinates on what is beautiful. They've been talking about Angelina Jolie, how gorgeous she used to be, and how emaciated she is now. About how sad it is to have been perfect only to no longer be so. Like a withering rose, like a streaming drying up. About how fragile perfection is. About how fleeting youth is. About how such succulent lips can turn into two skinny guajillo peppers. About the skeletal frame of her once voluptuous body. Once desired, once loved, and I felt hatred. Yes, a deep hatred for every one of them, for their stupid topics of conversation, for their 3-cent opinions, for feeling sorry for me and taking me on a pity trip, but most of all, for myself. I hated myself. Plain and simple, with a rabbit honesty. And so I pulled down my pants and peed just like a bitch taken out for a walk. Because, why not? If I was a pet to them. And I hated the beautiful clouds and the lush mountains and the flowers and the city below. And in that moment, I knew my role in this landscape was to piece my way to death. Get it? Because beauty is my enemy. And I wept, but out of extreme hatred. I wept over the Cordillera and Nicole's holier-than-thou back and Viviana and Karina's disgusted, condescending looks. And so, with my ass out in the mountain wind, I assumed for the first time the true form of my existence. Young men, I'm not sure if you know, this only happens once in a lifetime. A revelation so sorrowful that the mind makes it quick. But for me, it lasted too long. When you're up so high, you think it will be difficult to see clearly. But that's not true. You clearly see what you are and what others are, how everything below is small and miserable, and that is where you come from. This is the true altitude sickness. This is what makes you run. And you see the impossible. And it doesn't matter whether it's real or a hallucination. An Indio transforming into a giant condor that casts a shadow upon the day. And you recall the legend. You remember that a condor chooses the moment of his death. That when he feels old, finished, without a mate, he jumps off the highest mountain and onto the rocks. A condor with Soroche. And I knew, as I watched the Indio's metamorphosis, that to die after taking a piss on the future could be my ultimate act of dignity. So I did it, kid. I folded my wings and failed.
Soroche was written by Mónica Ojeda and was translated by Sarah Booker and Noelle de la Paz. It was directed and executive produced by Camilo Garzón. Soroche was included in Through the Night Like a Snake, a collection of Latin American horror stories published by Two Lines Press. Our cast and crew included
Catalina Plata Guevara,
as Ana,
MJ Garcia,
as Karina,
Claudia Andrea Escobar.
as Viviana,
Laura Ubate.
as Nicole. Laura Uate and Camilo Garzón did voice direction, audio production, and editing. Catherine Girardieu did consulting and creative production. Maria Linares did the score, including a piece titled Marina. Daniel Murcia and Juan David Sarmiento did the sound design, engineering, and mixing. Sarah Deely was a recording engineer at the North Fix Sound Studio in Los Angeles, California. Additional location sound recording in LA by Chiara Beltran. It was produced by Cuentero Productions under their client-facing trademark, Cuentero Transeunte Productions. Two Lines Press is an imprint of the Center for the Art of Translation, a non-profit organization based in San Francisco, California. Thanks for listening. Gracias por escuchar.